Alright, hello everyone, how are you guys all doing? We are back at it again, and for last video we did a 20,000 subscriber giveaway where I gave a bond away for a certain amount of likes. This video will be doing the same. I'll be giving away one bond for every 200 likes we can get on this video, so if you guys enjoy or if you guys just want to be entered into a giveaway, make sure to hit that like button. But first, as far as how you can be entered into this, all you have to do is like the video, be subscribed, and comment your RS name down below, and I'll pick as many different winners as bonds that we have to give away. Today though, I am here with a flipping guide. I've done one of these in the past, but now I feel like I have a lot more experience here, and a lot of you guys weren't around whenever I made the initial one because my channel was very small at the time. But yeah, this is mostly to address all of the questions I get in-game. There are so many people that ask me what to flip, how to flip, and really what to do, and hopefully if you guys have any of those questions, I can answer them for you here today. So many of you may be asking, what is flipping? Why should I do it? Now personally, the reason I do flipping, the reason I enjoy it so much is because you can actually make money while just pretty much learning what is going on within the game. It's almost like a puzzle, and it's just very fun to try to figure out how the market works and what really makes different things tick in the market so that you can make money off of it. Really, I find it is an interesting game to try to mess around with the addition of once you get good at it, you can actually profit off of it, and the better you get, the more money you will make. So it is constantly a challenge that you are going to want to just get better and better at. Now, as far as my tips for starters that are just coming to the GE and really how you should go about building your bank, no matter the cash amount that you're coming here with, something I will offer up to you is it takes time to learn. Rome wasn't built in a day. You're not going to be able to come here and double up your bank. This isn't the duel arena. While there is risk here, if you're coming here for a quick investment to make some money back, it's not going to happen. Flipping is something that happens gradually, and really those home run hits that you're going to hit with merching are going to come naturally. You can't force them to happen, you just have to identify when they will happen. Flipping or investing is not going to be a transaction where it's either going to be profit or you break even. There are going to be times where items dip down in price and you may have to sell off for a loss. Don't be deterred by that because early flippers are going to have this problem a lot. Personally, I did as well, and really what you have to do whenever you lose money on a flip is just look back at it, see what you did wrong, identify what was going on in the game, and then from there, just learn. You know, losing 500k, maybe even a couple mil isn't fun, but the lesson that you'll learn could be worth a couple mil loss in the future whenever you have, say, 500 mil and you could lose 50 mil on a merch. Now, obviously, that's a very nice way to look at it, but it is one that I think actually rings really true. So before we can flip and invest, we need to understand how the Grand Exchange works as far as margins go. So I'll take an item here, for instance, the Redwood Log. Here I bought it at 212 GP and sold it at 204. What this means is the price that I can buy it at right now is the lowest price someone is selling them for in the Grand Exchange at this moment. So the lowest someone's willing to sell it at currently is 212 GP. If I go to sell it, we'll see what the highest price is someone's willing to pay, and that is 206 GP. So here we see this is the margin. Basically what happens here is no one will be able to buy or sell at this exact time between these numbers. Now, obviously, if you wait a minute, this will actually go through, but for the time being, that is the margin. Now, going forward, you do have to realize that there are not only two offers in the GE. There isn't only an offer for 212 and an offer for 206. Think of it as a line. Think of it as a line that has offers staggered throughout. However, these are the two that are closest together in the middle. However, there can be as many offers staggered throughout the rest as the GE will allow. So looking at the margins we had before, basically there are three ways to go ahead and make money off of this if you want to. The first one being flipping. As you saw before, the difference here is 6 GP. You can slowly buy them at 206 GP and then you can sell them at 212, and that is called flipping. Basically, you're taking the current margin and just using it in your favor to be able to make a little bit of money. Now, if you're someone that's looking to spend a little bit more time but make more money, as I said before, the offers are staggered throughout. So say currently the lowest price is 206 GP, but you think maybe within the next hour it'll hit 197. So you put in an offer for 197, and typically over the hour, some of them will buy. However, you won't get as many as if you were to have an offer at 206 GP. Now, at that point, if you bought them under 206 GP, you're probably going to want to wait and sell them above 212 as well. So once you get all of the Redwood Logs bought for, say, 197, you could sell them off slowly for 219 GP. All in all, this will offer you a 22 GP margin compared to the 6 GP margin. However, it will take a little bit more time to buy. So these are the two different types of flipping you can do. Either really quick and based off the margins, or you can actually wait a little longer and try to work with better prices. The final way to make money here is by investing. Now that is long-term type stuff, depending on what you see going on. So this would be me buying probably Redwood Logs for, 190 GP. Typically when you invest, you're going to be investing over like a week-long time, so you're not going to want to buy all the redwood logs at the highest price you can. You're just going to want to stockpile over a week for probably the lowest price you can get them for. Now finally that you know all of the basics of the Grand Exchange, we can get into the different types of items that you can flip, and I'm going to break them down into 3 different categories ranging from highest volume items to the lowest volume items, with the medium volume items coming in the middle obviously. As far as the high volume items, these are going to be items that you can find flipped upwards in the tens of thousands per hour. Stuff like this that I typically go with is stuff like dragon bones, chinchampas, runes, and supplies in general. If you played the game for a little bit, you can come up with a lot of ideas of items that fit that mold. Now the characteristics of these items first includes the lowest margin. Stuff with the highest volume is obviously going to have the lowest margin. That just makes sense. You can think that through if you want, but it is true in RuneScape as well. As before, these are the highest volume items, so they are going to have the highest trade frequency, which is really nice to be able to get used to flipping. That's the one thing that I really like about high volume items for beginners, is you can at least get an understanding of how this entire thing is going to work going forward, and you can start to get a feel for how to make money flipping. Even though you won't be making a ton at the time, you'll really start to understand how the Grand Exchange works. In addition to this, there are things such as undercutting. Now I'll demonstrate that right here. Basically, the margin that we've been working with up until this point is 206 and 212. Now if you think about it, since I instantly sold it for 206, that means someone has an offer in for that price. So if I put my offer in, that's 2 offers. At least. There could be more. Now theoretically, if it's only me and one other person competing, I'm going to get half the amount of resources. Now if I put up 1 GP higher, I will be getting all of them. Now in this case, it may be worth it, but the thing you have to consider when undercutting is the fact that other people are going to undercut back. More than likely, they're not just going to sit there and want to not be able to flip, so they'll undercut you right back, and typically you just get into an undercutting war, especially with high volume items that you just don't want to get into. Some low volume items, I would definitely say it's worth it, but stuff like this is just going to be more of a hassle than a help. Now finally, the reason I really like high volume items is because as a beginner, you're not going to have a whole lot of risk. Redwood logs, while they are some of the most volatile high volume items, they don't even move that much. 8%, I mean, that's like absolute worst. That's not too bad when you consider the alternatives. Now moving on to the medium volume items, this is going to pertain to pretty much a lot of the things that you guys use in game. A lot of the supplies that I was talking about earlier fits into high volume, but many of the armor pieces and stuff like that you're going to use in-game, at least in combat, deals with the medium volume items. These are items that range from being sold 10 to maybe 100 times per hour. Stuff like bandos is definitely in that category. I'll go ahead and insta-buy and insta-sell a bandos chestplate to kind of show you guys the margins that you can expect. Now bandos is one of the most frequently merged items, and even here there is a 124k margin. Typically not even that high, so I guess while I record, I'm just going to go ahead and flip some. Now the medium volume item list is just really random because there are so many things that fit the mold for it. Pretty much there are items that you can find anywhere from 20k to almost 100 mil that fit this range. This offers for a lot of variety, but very little insight as to what exactly you should flip. Now as far as the margins that you can get from these items, it's typically between 20k for some of the lower tier stuff to maybe even upwards of a mil if you can find an item at a really good time. What I do like here, as before, with the bandos, I did just check the margin, and sometimes for these items, I'd recommend you do it. Here, I'm going to lose 125k, but I'll be able to merch 7 more of them before I hit my hourly limit. Theoretically, I have to merch 1 of these to be able to make the money back that I lost, so I'll be profiting 6 of these times 124k. All in all, a pretty good profit, and if you didn't insta-buy and insta-sell it, you would have no clue what the margins are, and you would just have to guess on your own. Now, if you're very experienced with an item, that's fine. But if you aren't, it's not very easy to do. Some other reasons that I enjoy the medium volume item list is because there's a ton of clue items in this range, both medium, hard, and elite rewards. Pretty much any clue reward has a decent margin almost at all times. Because there are so few of them bought and sold, if you really get into understanding a few different items of clues, you can really start to profit off flipping them. In addition to this, one of the downsides of the medium volume item list is you can't instantly dump them if they start to go down. With stuff like redwood logs, if they start to go down a couple GP, or I get bored with them theoretically, I could just dump them for a few GP loss. Here I'd lose like, 10 to 15k, but in the end 10 to 15k, not a whole lot, so it may be worth your time. Now if you have to go ahead and dump 7 bandos chest plates, you could be doing it for maybe 100 to 200k loss per chest plate. At that point, losing 700k to 1.4 mil isn't something you're going to want to do, so you aren't able to be as flexible with your cash as some of you may like to be. Now onto the low volume items. Now these are going to be a lot of items in game have no volume because there are just no demand for it. So potions that have 1 or 2 doses that no one's buying or selling, those aren't going to be what you want to focus on here. While they may fit that category, for the most part, we'll be looking at very, very high tier items that have a buying quantity of 0 to 5 per hour. Now things that fit this mold for the most part are T-bows, Ellies, Third Age, and maybe some prayer scrolls depending on the time that they're being bought or sold. However, many of these items are going to be higher priced, and in the future this will more than likely stay the same. Now as far as why you would want to mess around with these items that are very, very high priced, they have some of the best margins in game. Since there are so few of them bought and sold, there are typically very few offers in the grand exchange for them. This typically creates a very big margin between the lowest sell offer and the highest buy offer. Now here you'll have some of the best flips you've ever seen in game. However, this does come at the cost of obviously a lot of risk. In addition to the risk, a lot of these items are something that you can't buy and sell. Like items before that I said, you can often buy and sell the margin to be able to find out what it is and then flip accordingly. With these items, it is less reliant on being able to insta buy and insta sell, because if you do that, you're going to lose a ton of money and probably not make it back, to be honest. What you want to do here instead is just have a good understanding of what the margin is on an item and then work with it. Now this does require a lot of knowledge of the items, which is why you really just have to work with them and try to get an understanding of how they work. You need to be able to know what the average margin is, how many of them buy and sell an hour really, in general price trends going forward with the item that you're invested in. Now something I think is important with all the items in game, but very especially important with these low volume items, is you cannot sell during times where the price starts to go down a little bit because you are nervous. Now if there's something outside, say maybe a future update coming in where it looks like the price is going to continue to go down, then yes, feel free to sell off, that makes sense. But if it's just a sudden lowering in price, that's probably going to bounce back. If you sell during the low point, it is going to be so much worse, because as I was saying before, if you think of the Grand Exchange as having pretty much a median price point and then a bunch of offers staggered around it, with these items there are so few offers being put in on a day-to-day basis that once you break outside of that range of offers, the margins are going to be insane there. So that is really good for flipping. However, if you're someone looking to sell off an investment, it is the worst time to sell, so keep that in mind. So now on to one of my biggest pet peeves with merching and just being someone that produces merchant content is so often people are like, what do you flip, what do you flip, and what has good margins? And it is the worst question, because if you are someone that has been merchant, you will know you never want to tell anyone. Because if I'm merching something good and I tell someone, that's going to bring extra demand to the flip, it's going to ruin the margin, and there's no point in that. So typically if anyone asks you this question, I'd recommend not to say anything, and for me personally, I'll be giving you guys some items here, but these aren't going to be my best #1 items. These are just going to be items that will give you guys decent margins and allow you guys to be able to have a set item to practice with for each of these categories. Now starting off in the high volume item list, basically I'm going to keep these pretty broad. For the most part, I would say bones. I work with dragon and wyvern bones, but however superior, you can actually get a pretty decent margin on as well. For runes, I typically don't do a lot of this, but deaths and bloods are usually pretty good. As far as herbs go, you can both work with the unfinished potions or the herbs themselves. Logs are also pretty good. I also like eclectic implings. They have a pretty decent margin time to time, however, they're a little volatile. And then finally, potions. I find that potions are very annoying to buy and sell because I feel like I get undercutted so much, but if you guys want to take a chance out there, you can. Now moving on to the medium volume items. Now this is going to be pretty much anything you can think of in game, and especially for this category, if you want to be able to get some ideas in regards to merching, because sometimes that's the hardest part, is just trying to think of items that would have a decent margin. What I do typically is I just sit at the GE and hop world to world. I look at what people are wearing, and then sometimes whenever I'm just looking at what people are wearing, I get inspiration for a merch. So feel free to utilize that if you please. However, for medium volume items, I'd say for the most part, clue rewards are very, very good. Now, you can find the particular ones that work best for you. I don't deal a lot with low-level clue rewards because I have much more money than that, so it's just not really worth my time. Fun coupons! On top of that, medium to high-level PVM armor is some really, really good merching. I mean, you can do anything from, say, Barrows items to Bandos items to pretty much anything you can think of in regards to armor, and a lot of that has really, really good margins, especially some God Wars dungeon type stuff, along with raids items. Now, finally, onto the low-volume items. As I said earlier, the Ellie, the Third Age for the most part. Now, some of the lower-tier Third Age you're not going to want to mess with, like Van Braces, and pretty much anything below 50 mil doesn't have a great margin. You can find it time to time, but not typically. typically. Along with that, new raids items going forward are going to be very, very much under this category, so if you want to mess around with those as well, feel free. And personally, I'll be looking forward to it as well. Alright, so that is going to be it for the information for this video. Hopefully you guys did enjoy. Now, merching is just, I mean, you can't condense it all into a 16-minute video. If there's anything you guys want me to break down in further detail, I will. I already have a video planned on investing, so other than that, feel free to mention anything in the comments below. On top of that, remember to leave your RSN to be entered into the giveaway. Again, I appreciate 20,000 subs so much. It's an incredible milestone, and I'm very happy to have hit it. I appreciate you guys as well for that, and hopefully you guys did enjoy the video. With all that said, though, hopefully